The mover has my green wool coat folded over one arm and a payment tablet in the other. Careful with that, I say, stepping sideways to let him pass. The top button's loose. He looks from me to the coat, then toward the open front door. His partner is halfway down the walk with two of my garment bags. "You're Mrs. Price?" "Yes." "Great. If you could sign here, we're all set. Will Marlene be meeting us at the storage unit, or should we leave the key with your husband?" Behind him, our foyer wardrobe stands empty. Every coat, scarf, pair of boots, and umbrella I own is gone. 6 quilted hangers hang inside, evenly spaced, each with a small cream tag marked MP. "Marlene?" I ask. "My mother," Daniel says from the stairs. The tablet refreshes before I can turn around. A green checkmark appears above the words, "Payment approved." Beneath it is the last 4 digits of our joint checking account and a charge for $684.20. I look at Daniel. He is wearing the gray sweater I bought him last Christmas, the one he says makes him look like a substitute chemistry teacher. He has sawdust in his hair and guilt arranged carefully across his face, softened at the edges to resemble patience. "Why are movers taking my clothes somewhere for your mother?" The man with my coat goes very still. His partner keeps walking, perhaps because he's experienced, perhaps because the garment bags are heavy. Daniel comes down 2 steps. They're not taking them for Mom, they're putting them in storage. That sentence did not improve with the second half. It's temporary. Then why didn't I know about it? His eyes flick toward the movers. There it is, his first concern, not what he has done, who has witnessed my discovery of it. "Can we talk in the kitchen?" I take the tablet from the mover. Daniel's signature is a dark scribble in the little white box. "How many rooms did he hire you to clear?" The mover swallows. He is broad enough to carry our dining table alone, but he looks as if he would rather be underneath it. Foyer wardrobe, upstairs office, guest room closet. There were some boxes already packed. "My office?" "Leah," Daniel says. The mover clears his throat. "Ma'am, we're on the clock." Of course they are. Everyone in the foyer is being compensated for this moment except me. I sign with my fingertip. The signature looks nothing like mine. "Finish the job," I say. Daniel's shoulders lower. He thinks he has won. The green coat goes out the door. I watch until the truck swallows it. Daniel waits for the engine to start before he says, "Thank you for not turning that into a whole thing." I close the door softly. What would a whole thing look like? You know what I mean. I genuinely don't. He rubs both hands over his face. Sawdust catches in his eyebrows. He's been working in the garage since 6, finishing a walnut conference table for a dentist in Beaverton who has changed the dimensions 3 times and paid 1 deposit. Daniel's business survives on beautiful wood, anxious clients, and invoices I remind him to send. "My mom's coming this afternoon," he says. I gathered that from the monogrammed hangers. She needs to stay here for a while. How long's a while? 6 weeks, maybe less. Why? The condo renovation ran over. The contractor opened up the kitchen wall and found old plumbing. It's a mess. I glance toward the empty wardrobe. And the plumbing requires my coats to live in a storage facility? She's bringing clothes. For 6 weeks? She has events, church things, Ruth's anniversary dinner. Marlene owns more formal wear than a cruise ship magician, but she doesn't need the foyer, the guest closet, and my office. Your office isn't gone. I walk upstairs. Daniel follows me, talking faster now. I move the desk toward the window. It's actually better because you'll get more light. My office is the narrow room at the front of the townhouse, technically too small to count as a bedroom and too useful to be allowed an identity of its own. Yesterday, it contained my desk, my navy reading chair, 2 shelves of event binders, and the framed black and white photograph Daniel and I bought on our first trip together. Now my desk is wedged beneath the window. The chair is gone. So are the photograph and half the binders. A floral suitcase sits open on the floor. 3 garment boxes stand against the wall, labeled Marlene Spring, Marlene Shoes, and Marlene Personal. I touch the pale square on the wall where the photograph had hung. You packed this before today. I wanted to get ahead of it. You knew she was coming. Since Monday. It is Thursday. Monday night, we ate soup at the kitchen island while Daniel described, in loving detail, why the dentist's conference table needed a different edge profile. Tuesday, we folded towels together while watching a terrible home renovation show. Wednesday, he asked whether I could move money from our savings cushion to cover a lumber order until the dentist paid his second installment. Every night, Marlene's boxes were somewhere in this house. You asked me for money yesterday. I asked if we had room. You asked if we could float $1,600. That's different. The movers just took almost $700. I'm putting it back when Jenkins pays. Jenkins hasn't paid because you haven't invoiced him. His jaw shifts. I have invoiced him. You sent the final invoice? I'm handling it. This means no. He lifts the floral suitcase onto the bed with more force than necessary. Mom lent me money in April. She didn't make me sign anything. She didn't charge interest. Now she needs help. How much did she lend you? We've been through that. We have not. $8,000. The number changes the room. It gives weight to the boxes and purpose to the padded hangers downstairs. When? I said. April. You said she helped with materials. She did. You told me she gave you $2,000. She gave me that first. And then 6 more? He straightens the suitcase so its wheels line up with the rug. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd make it about the business. It is about the business. It's about my mother needing a place to stay. You used our emergency money to remove my belongings so the woman secretly funding your business could move into my office. Our emergency money. That is not the correction you want to make right now. A horn chirps outside. Daniel looks through the window. The moving truck is pulling away. In the back, behind the smoked glass, my life is arranged according to cubic feet. He sighs. I knew this would be difficult. I laugh once. It comes out sharp enough to surprise us both. You knew I would be difficult? I knew the situation would be. Did you? Leah? How? You didn't ask me anything. He looks at me then, really looks, and for 1 second I can see the part of him that knows exactly what he has done. It is not a large part. It does not stay long. She's my mother, he says. What was I supposed to do? The question settles between us. It sounds rhetorical to him. That is what frightens me. At 3:15, I am chopping celery for the chicken soup I planned before I knew my home had been reassigned. I consider putting everything back in the refrigerator. I consider leaving. Instead, I keep chopping because the vegetables will spoil and because rage does not make me less hungry. Daniel comes in through the garage and places a small brass hook on the counter. This came loose, he says. It is the hook from the foyer wall, the one that held my green coat whenever I was too tired to open the wardrobe. I installed it during our first winter here. Daniel had stood 6 feet away, tilted his head, and told me it was crooked. I handed him the screwdriver. He said he liked it that way. Now 2 curls of white paint cling to the screws. Why did you take that down? Mom's wardrobe cabinet is going there. Her what? She ordered a small cabinet for overflow. It arrives Saturday. Where was she planning to put the overflow if I had said she couldn't stay? He opens his mouth. The front door unlocks. Not the bell. Not a knock. A key entering my lock and turning with confidence. Marlene arrives in a belted camel coat, dark glasses, and lipstick the color of a warning label. She carries a white orchid in one hand and a leather tote in the other. Behind her, a rideshare driver sets 2 enormous suitcases on the walk. There she is, she says when she sees me. She kisses the air near my cheek, hands me the orchid, and steps back to admire the foyer. Oh, Daniel, this is perfect. The empty wardrobe doors are open. Her cream tags wait inside. You gave her a key, I say. Marlene pats her tote. He had one made. I told him I didn't want to inconvenience anyone by ringing the bell every time I came and went. That would have been an inconvenience. Her smile tightens almost invisibly. Marlene does not enjoy sarcasm unless she is serving it. Daniel carries in the suitcases. Mom, you remember where the guest room is? I should hope so. I helped you two choose this place. She did not. She saw the listing after we applied and said the kitchen looked dark. Her gaze moves to the orchid in my hands. I know you prefer practical gifts, Leah, but the house needed something alive. The celery was doing its best. Daniel makes a sound suspiciously like a laugh, then disguises it as a cough. Marlene notices. So do I. For a moment, an old reflex lifts in me. The pleasure of making him laugh, even while I am furious. Marriage is full of humiliating muscle memory. Marlene removes her coat and holds it out. I look at it. She looks at me. Daniel takes it and hangs it on the first padded hanger. Dinner is ready at 6 because I said it would be before any of this happened. Daniel opens wine. Marlene sets the table incorrectly, then moves the spoons after I sit down so I will know she has corrected herself. The soup is good. That annoys me. This is exactly what I needed, Marlene says. Something simple. Daniel keeps his eyes on his bowl. Soup can be very ambitious, I say. I didn't mean it critically. You rarely do. She gives me a measured smile. I know this arrangement came together quickly. Did it? Daniel reaches for the bread. Marlene pauses. She and Daniel exchange a glance that has gone too fast to challenge without sounding deranged. I mean the plumbing situation, she says. These old buildings hide all sorts of surprises. When did the contractor open the wall? Monday. And he thinks 6 weeks? He refuses to promise. You know contractors. Daniel dips bread into his soup. He knows woodworkers, electricians, cabinet makers, tile setters, and 3 plumbers who owe him favors. He does not offer a name. What company? I ask. Marlene lays down her spoon. I can find the paperwork if you're planning to interrogate them. I'm making conversation. Then let's make pleasant conversation. Daniel says my name quietly, not hers, mine. I look at him across the table. He has a pale mark on his wrist where his watch usually sits, and there's a nick near his thumb from a chisel. I know which shirts he avoids when he feels heavy. I know he cannot sleep if a closet door is open. I know he talks to lumber under his breath when a cut matters. Until this afternoon, I believed knowing a person in all those small ways added up to being known by them. Marlene lifts her wine glass. To family favors. Daniel touches his glass to hers. I leave mine on the table. After dinner, Marlene retires early because moving has exhausted her. Daniel loads the dishwasher while I wrap the leftover bread. You could try, he says. I cooked for her. You cooked because you were already cooking. Then I'm glad my lack of effort had garnish. He pushes the top rack in. She feels unwelcome. She arrived with a key to a house containing her monogrammed hangers. Home is emotional. So are ambushes. He closes the dishwasher. It is 6 weeks, Leah. You keep saying that like you and I agreed on it. I'm asking you now. No, you're asking me to approve what you already did. His face hardens, then softens. Daniel is good at softening. It is one of the reasons people wait longer than they should for his invoices, his tables, his apologies. What do you want me to do? He asks. Put my mother in a hotel? I wanted you to call me Monday. That's not an answer. It was the last moment when you had the right to demand one. Upstairs, a floorboard creaks. We both look toward the ceiling. Marlene has always moved quietly when listening. Daniel lowers his voice. Please don't turn this into some loyalty test. I didn't create the test. I pick up the brass hook from beside the fruit bowl and carry it upstairs. My desk chair is gone, so I sit on the edge of the bed with my laptop. At 9:42, I open a new account at a bank Daniel does not use. I change the direct deposit instructions for my salary. Then I calculate half the rent, half the utilities, half the insurance, and the exact average cost of the groceries I eat. The numbers are colder than I feel. Before I close the joint account page, I see the moving charge again, $684.20. Below it is yesterday's lumber purchase. Above it is a pending charge from a home furnishings company for $1,147. I carry the laptop downstairs. Daniel is on the couch, bare feet on the coffee table, watching a video of a man flattening a slab of maple. "What did your mother order for $1,147? His eyes move to the screen, then, very slowly, to the empty space beside the front door. "The wardrobe cabinet," he says. I set the laptop on the coffee table. "You paid for that too?" "She's putting the money back." "When?" "Once she gets settled." "Whose promise is that?" He stares at me. Upstairs, directly above us, Marlene opens a closet door. The closet closes. Daniel leans back against the couch and presses his fingers into his eyes. "She's going to reimburse us." "You said that." "She sold some furniture. The money's clearing." "What furniture?" "I don't know, Leah." "A dining set. From the condo with the torn-open kitchen." "Why are you saying it like that?" "Like what?" "Like you're a prosecutor." I asked where $1,100 went, and I answered. "You answered with your mother's future intentions." He reaches for the laptop. I close it before he can touch the screen. "How much more have you promised her from our account?" "Nothing." "How much more has she ordered?" "Nothing that I know of." That is not the same answer. His mouth goes flat. "This is why I didn't tell you. There are sentences that hurt because they are cruel and sentences that hurt because the person saying them believes they are logical. Daniel's is the second kind." I take the laptop upstairs. The brass hook is still in my palm, its screws pressing 2 small circles into my skin. Our bedroom door is open. Across the hall, a stripe of light shows beneath the guest room door. I pass it without slowing. Daniel comes to bed after midnight. He stands beside the mattress, taking off his watch, placing it in the little ceramic dish I bought at a street fair. He does everything carefully when he wants credit for not fighting. "I canceled the cabinet," he says. I keep reading. "You heard me?" "Yes." "It was too much. You were right about that." "Did you cancel it or did your mother?" "I called the company." "Did she agree?" "Does that matter?" "You've been acting like her agreement is the only thing that matters." He pulls back the blanket. "I'm trying to fix this." "No, you're trying to lower the volume." He gets into bed and turns off his lamp. For several minutes, neither of us moves. Then he says, "She was there for me when the Morrison job went bad. I closed my book around one finger. So was I." "I know." "I made the revised schedule. I negotiated the supplier extension. I spent 4 nights rebuilding your billing records." I said, "I know." "Your mother wrote a check." "That doesn't make it nothing." "I didn't say it was nothing." "You always do this. You turn help into a ranking." I stare at the ceiling. The heating vent clicks twice. "I didn't know we were ranking," I say. "I thought we were married." He rolls onto his side, away from me. At 6:30, I wake to the smell of coffee. For one stupid second, hope moves through me. Daniel has made coffee twice in the last year, both times after arguments, both times too strong. I put on my robe and go downstairs. Marlene is at the kitchen counter wearing cream silk pajamas and my blue apron. She has moved the coffee maker beside the stove. The toaster now occupies the corner where I keep the fruit bowl, and my knives are arranged on a towel. "Good morning," she says. "I couldn't find anything in this kitchen." "You found my apron." "It was behind 3 others." "It was on a hook." "I'm making eggs." "Daniel likes them soft." "Daniel likes them hard." She cracks an egg one-handed against the bowl. He ate them soft for 28 years. He has eaten them hard for 9. Marlene looks pleased rather than corrected. "Isn't that interesting? Daniel walks in wearing sweatpants and the hopeful expression of a man who thinks two women discussing eggs must mean peace has broken out. "This smells amazing." "Sit," Marlene tells him. He sits. There is one place setting. I pour coffee into my travel mug. It is weak. "You're not eating?" Daniel asks. "I have an early load-in." Marlene stirs the eggs. "For the museum dinner?" I look at her. "Daniel told me. 400 people, wasn't it?" 380. "I don't know how you manage all those details." I tighten the lid on my mug. I ask before moving their belongings. Daniel exhales through his nose. Marlene turns off the burner. "Leah, I understand you're upset." "Do you?" I would have preferred he tell you sooner, but not before. Her hand stills on the spatula. Daniel says, "Can we not do this at breakfast?" Marlene slides eggs onto his plate. "Your wife and I are talking. It is the first time she has taken my side all morning, and she does it to dismiss him. I needed somewhere to stay," she says. "My son offered. I believed he had the authority to do that in his own home. The coffee in my mug gives a small slosh when I pick it up. He has the authority to offer his space." "And you distinguish every inch?" "Apparently I need to." She folds the towel beneath the knives with precise fingers. Marriage must be exhausting when everything is measured. Daniel studies his eggs. I think of my new bank account, the figures entered to the penny. "Only when one person keeps moving the ruler," I say. At work, the museum's rental manager has placed 12 six-foot tables where our caterer needs to build a service station. The florist has brought arrangements tall enough to blind every guest in the room, and the keynote speaker wants a different entrance because the planned one requires walking past a skeleton of a mastodon. By 8:15, I have moved the tables, lowered the flowers, and found a route that protects the keynote speaker from the extinct mammal. Problems at work arrive with dimensions. They come with floor plans, deadlines, and people who admit they need something. My director, Nadine, finds me measuring the west corridor with my shoe because the tape measure is in the loading bay. "You look homicidal," she says. I'm checking clearance. "For a body?" "For a dessert cart." "Same width?" "Depends on the body." She hands me a proper tape measure. Nadine is 50, blunt, and somehow always wearing a white shirt without spilling anything on it. She looks at my face for a second longer than necessary. "Home?" she asks. "Home." "Do you need me to know more?" The question almost undoes me because it is a clean question. There is room inside it for either answer. "Not yet." "Okay. The caterer wants to know who approved the blue linens. No one with eyes. By noon, I have received 4 texts from Daniel. Do you have the Jenkins invoice template? Where did you save the current vendor list? Call me when you get a second. Urgent." I answer the last one. "What's urgent?" He calls immediately. Jenkins says he never got the invoice. I stand behind a temporary wall while 2 technicians argue about extension cords. "Did you send it?" "I thought I did." "Then it would be in your sent folder." "It's not." "Okay." There is a pause. "Okay, what?" "Okay, it wasn't sent." "Can you send it?" "I'm at work." "It takes 2 minutes." "It takes me 2 minutes because I built the template, entered the tax rate, added your payment terms, and saved Jenkins's billing contact." "Exactly. You know where everything is." "The template is in the folder, labeled invoices." "That's not what I mean." I watch a server pass with a crate of glasses balanced against his shoulder. "I know." "Leah, if he pays this week, I can put back the moving money." "You can put back the moving money because you spent it. Can you please just help me?" "Whose promise is that?" He goes quiet. "You're punishing me," he says. "I'm working." I hang up because a technician is waving at me and because if I stay on the line, I will help him. My hands already remember the steps. The dinner runs 11 minutes late. The keynote speaker loves the new entrance. The dessert cart clears the corridor with half an inch to spare. When I get home, Daniel is asleep on the couch with his laptop on his chest. The invoice program is open. In the recipient field, he has typed Mr. Jenkins. A red error message says, "Email address required." I could fix it before he wakes. The contact information is in the signed estimate 3 folders down. My finger hovers over the trackpad. Then Daniel snores. I set the laptop safely on the coffee table and go upstairs. For the next 3 days, the house reorganizes itself around Marlene. My glass storage containers move to the garage because she prefers plastic. A basket appears beside the stairs for objects she believes belong on other floors. The thermostat rises 4 degrees. She replaces the hand soap in the downstairs bathroom with something that smells like sugared roses. She is not lazy. That would be easier. She empties the dishwasher at dawn and puts everything where she thinks it should have been. She washes Daniel's shop rags with our bath towels, then looks wounded when I run the load again. She brings home expensive groceries and leaves the receipt beneath the ceramic fruit bowl, which she has moved to the dining room. On Saturday, a delivery truck stops outside. Marlene is halfway down the stairs before the bell rings. "Is that the cabinet?" I ask. Daniel comes out of the garage, wiping his hands on his jeans. "I canceled it." Marlene opens the door. 2 men wait beside a tall cardboard carton. The word wardrobe is printed along the side. "Delivery for Marlene Price," one says. Daniel looks at his mother. "I canceled this." I called back. The cancellation was silly. "We don't have room." "You made room." The driver holds out a tablet. "There's a balance due of $912. "It was paid online," Marlene says. "Deposit was paid. Balance is due on delivery." She looks at Daniel. He takes out his wallet. I feel something in me go perfectly still. His personal card declines first. He tries again as if the machine might admire persistence. Declined. Marlene's face changes. Not much. A slight loosening around the mouth. Daniel pulls out the joint debit card. "That account won't cover it," I say. Both delivery men look at the carton. Daniel lowers the card. "What did you do?" "I moved my salary and left my share of the bills." "You moved money out?" "My last deposit, the one that arrived Thursday." "We have automatic payments coming." "I left my half." Marlene folds her arms across the blue silk blouse I have seen her wear to 3 separate anniversaries. "This is between you two." It is a remarkable statement from a woman standing beside an $1,100 wardrobe addressed to her. Daniel steps closer to me. "You should have told me." "The delivery driver studies the clouds." I say. I knew this would be difficult. Daniel flinches. He remembers saying it upstairs while my chair was being carried away. The cabinet goes back onto the truck. Marlene closes the door before it has fully pulled from the curb. "You embarrassed him." I let his card answer a question. "You moved household funds without consulting your husband." "He spent household funds removing me from the household." "Your coats, Leah. He moved coats. And my chair." She glances at Daniel. He says, "It was in the way." "Of what?" I ask. No one answers. That afternoon, an email arrives from the storage company thanking me for my business. Attached is a receipt, a photograph of the sealed unit, and an inventory prepared by the movers. 23 garment items, 6 boxes from upstairs office, 1 upholstered chair, navy, 4 framed pictures, 1 brass wall hook. I read the last line twice. The hook is in my desk drawer. I put it there myself. I enlarge the photograph. Behind my green coat and the garment bags are boxes I have never seen. A mahogany table leg sticks up beside a rolled rug. 1 carton bears Marlene's handwriting, "Dining room cell." When I call the storage company, a woman named Petra tells me I am listed as an authorized contact because I signed at pickup. Can I access the unit? With photo ID, your husband booked a 10 by 15 through the end of November. November? That's the prepaid term, 6 months. I look through the open office door. Across the hall, Marlene is humming as she hangs clothes in the guest room closet. Daniel promised me 6 weeks. I close the laptop, take my car keys, and drive to the storage facility. The storage facility sits behind a tire shop and a row of newly planted trees that look embarrassed to be there. Inside, the air smells like dust, hot metal, and the artificial lemon cleaner used in public bathrooms. Petra slides a clipboard beneath the glass. Unit 318, elevators at the end of the hall. You'll need this code for the 3rd floor. She circles 6 numbers. Can I remove things? You're authorized. Can anyone else remove things? Mr. Price and Marlene Price. Of course Marlene is authorized. Her key gets her into every version of my life. The unit has a red metal door and a new silver lock. Petra gave me the combination, but my hands still shake badly enough that I miss it twice. When the lock opens, I lift the door. My green coat hangs from a rolling garment rack directly in front of me. One sleeve is trapped between 2 black garment bags. Behind it, my navy chair's upside down on Marlene's dining table. The black and white photograph from my office rests against a carton marked Kitchen Fragile. Our faces reflect faintly in the glass, trapped over a picture of a rainy street in Chicago. The unit is nearly full. Marlene's rolled rugs are stacked along one wall. A set of dining chairs is bound together with plastic wrap. There are boxes labeled Linens, Crystal, Master Bath, and Daniel Keep. The last one is written in the same blocky hand that used to label his lunch containers whenever he visited her. I pull the inventory from my bag, one brass wall hook. I find the line again, then search the floor around the framed pictures. No hook. The movers must have listed it before Daniel brought it back into the kitchen. The mistake is ordinary. That makes the rest of the list feel more reliable. 6 boxes from upstairs office. Only 2 came from my office. The other 4 are Marlene's, put under the same category as if all women's paperwork naturally belongs together. A folded document is taped to a box beneath my reading chair. I peel it loose. It is a moving receipt dated 3 weeks earlier. Pickup address. Marlene's condo. Service requested. Final residential removal. Every room is checked. Kitchen, bedroom, living room, storage cage. The delivery destination is this unit. At the bottom, beneath Marlene's signature, someone has written, "Unit vacated, keys left with front desk." I sit on the concrete floor. The green coat hangs above me, its loose brass button tilted toward the light. 3 weeks ago, Daniel and I were drinking wine at this storage unit's expense, without knowing it. He complained that the dentist kept changing the conference table. I told him the business needed a better deposit policy. He put his hand over mine and said he did not know what he would do without me. Apparently he did. He just did not tell me. I photograph the receipt, the boxes, the furniture, and the chair. I take close pictures of the labels. Then I stand in front of my coat. I could wear it out even though the afternoon is warm. I could load my chair into the car if I drove with the trunk tied down. I could reclaim things one humiliating object at a time. Instead, I free the trapped sleeve and smooth the wool flat. The top button dangles by 2 green threads. "Not yet," I tell it. My voice echoes through the unit. When I return, Ruth is drinking iced tea at the kitchen island. She and Marlene share the same narrow nose and none of the same timing. Ruth says things 3 seconds after a polite person would stop themselves. It has made her my favorite of Daniel's relatives, and occasionally the most dangerous. "There she is," Ruth says. "Your mother-in-law tells me she's been banished to the guest room." Marlene stands at the sink rinsing a glass. "I said no such thing. You said the room was too cramped for your wardrobe. That's banishment in your religion. Daniel is in the garage. I can hear the whine of a sander." Ruth studies me over the rim of her glass. "You all right?" "No." The honest answer rearranges her face. Marlene turns from the sink. "Leah has decided my plumbing emergency is a conspiracy. I set the moving receipt on the island." Ruth glances at it. Marlene does not. "Your condo was emptied 3 weeks ago." Marlene places the glass carefully in the dishwasher. "The contractor needed access. You left the keys with the front desk. They were going to be in and out. The receipt says final removal. Movers use standard language. Did you end your lease?" Ruth stops drinking. Marlene wipes her hands on a towel. The rent increased. Daniel appears in the doorway from the garage, safety glasses pushed onto his head. What's going on? I turn the receipt toward him. He sees the date and closes his eyes. That is all the answer I need. You knew, I say. He takes off the glasses. Leah, let's go upstairs. No. Ruth sets her glass down. Danny, Marlene's voice sharpens. This is a private marital conversation. Then why am I drinking tea in the middle of it? Ruth, Daniel says, could you give us a minute? She looks at me. I want an ally. The wanting itself feels dangerous. It's fine, I say. Ruth takes her purse from the counter but does not stand. Your mother told me the kitchen was being renovated. It was supposed to be, Marlene says. You ended your lease for a renovation that hadn't started? The building was becoming unaffordable. Daniel offered a solution. Daniel grips the safety glasses in one hand. How long? I ask him. We didn't set an exact date. The unit is prepaid through November. We got a discount. How long? Until the business stabilized. Marlene pulls out the chair across from Ruth and sits. I lent your husband money. He offered me a room while he repaid it. Families help one another. You told me it was 6 weeks. I told him that was a foolish thing to say. Daniel looks at her. Mom. What? You want me to pretend this was my idea? He goes pale beneath the fine dust on his face. Marlene turns to me. He came to me in April. His material costs had increased, 2 clients were late, and you were already worried. He didn't want to upset you. So he borrowed $8,000. 10, she says. Daniel drops the glasses onto the counter. I stare at him. You said 8. The other 2 was earlier. You said the other 2 was included. I explained it badly. Did you? Ruth stands. I think I should leave. Marlene gestures toward her. Now she'll repeat this to everyone. I haven't repeated the fact that you returned my silver candlesticks with wax in them, Marlene. I can hold a confidence. This is different. It usually is when you're the subject. Ruth touches my arm on her way out. Marriage is long. Don't make a permanent decision in the middle of one terrible week. It is meant kindly. That does not make it useful. After the front door closes, Daniel says, Can we please talk without an audience? Marlene stays seated. I look at her. She lifts her chin. I have a financial interest. For the first time all day, I almost smile. Daniel asks her to go upstairs. She does, carrying her iced tea. Then he and I stand in the kitchen, 3 feet apart with the moving receipt between us. He tells me the truth in pieces. His spring contracts did not cover the lumber he had ordered. He used deposits from later jobs to finish earlier ones, expecting the schedule to correct itself. It had not. Marlene sold most of her furniture because the condo's rent was rising and because Daniel said her money would be safer in his business than in storage. Her money is in walnut, I say, and maple. That is worse somehow. I have work coming. You always have work coming. The Jenkins payment will clear. You haven't sent the invoice. I sent it yesterday. After 3 days, it's sent. He steps closer. I was trying to keep everything from falling apart. You promised her our home. She's my mother. And I'm your wife. Exactly. I knew you'd be upset, but I thought once she was here you would understand. Because I wouldn't put her out. Because you're reasonable. The word lands like an insult wrapped as a compliment. You were counting on my shame. No. You knew I wouldn't make a scene with movers in the foyer. You knew I wouldn't throw her suitcases onto the sidewalk. You knew I'd keep the rent paid and dinner organized while you figured out your next move. I knew you would protect us. Who is us? His eyes flick upward. There it is. The marriage, in Daniel's mind, is the wall around every promise he makes. He can reach outside it, bring in debt, furniture, obligation, his mother, and whatever else frightens him. My job is to keep the wall standing. I thought marriage meant we didn't let each other fail, he says. You didn't let me choose. Because you would have said no. The answer comes too quickly for him to retrieve. That night, he changes the password to his business software. He tells me when I discover it, as if announcing the act after completing it counts as transparency. "You wanted out of the bookkeeping," he says. "You're out." I didn't try to log in. The system sent me an alert. I was checking whether Jenkins paid. That's business information. Last week it was marital labor. You can't refuse to help and then monitor me. He is not entirely wrong. That is what makes the counterattack effective. I call the bank the next morning and dispute the moving charge. A representative named Colin listens while I explain that I did not authorize the booking. "Was the debit initiated by another owner on the account?" he asks. "My husband." "Then it was authorized. It paid to remove my property. I understand, ma'am, but either account owner can initiate purchases and withdrawals. What if I had spent the entire balance? If funds were available, the transaction could have processed." The legal simplicity of it chills me. Daniel could empty the account while I am asking who owns the furniture. I transfer back enough to cover the next rent payment in full, not just my half. I hate doing it. I hate the little surge of relief when the balance becomes safe again. Then I call our property manager. "Our lease ends November 30th, Mason says. Both tenants remain responsible through that date. We'll send renewal options in September. If one of us doesn't renew, then the tenancy ends unless the other qualifies independently." Does Daniel qualify independently? A pause. I can't discuss another applicant's financial information. The pause has already answered. At home, Marlene has placed my knives back in their original drawer. The sugary rose soap is gone. A pot of coffee waits beside a clean mug. For 2 days, the house becomes almost gentle. Then Daniel comes into my office holding a printed email and smiling for the first time since the movers came. The dentist has referred him to a regional hotel group renovating 6 conference rooms. They want sample tables, wall panels, built-in credenzas. The first phase would be worth more than Daniel billed all last year. They want a workshop address and updated financials, he says. If this goes through, everything changes. I read the email twice. It is real work, specific dimensions, a site meeting, a deposit large enough to repay Marlene and refill the account. Daniel crouches beside my desk. "I can fix this," he says. The hope on his face is familiar enough to feel like home. Then he places another document in front of me, our lease renewal application. "I need you to sign," he says. I look from his face to the application. Mason said renewals go out in September. I asked him to send ours early. The hotel group needs proof I'll have the workshop through next year. "You told them the garage is your workshop?" "It is my workshop. It's attached to our residential lease. That's why I need your signature." He places a pen beside the application. It is one of mine, taken from the ceramic cup on my desk. "What happens if I don't sign?" His smile fades, but only slightly. He is still standing inside the future, described in the email. 6 conference rooms, steady deposits, Marlene repaid, all of us grateful he did not give up. They'll question whether I have a stable operating address. Do you? I will if we renew. Can you afford the rent without me? That's the wrong question. It's Mason's question. He stands. I thought you wanted me to make the business work. I wanted you to make it work without lying to me. This contract is how I fix the money. The money is one of the things you broke. He walks to the window and looks down at the driveway. The garage door is open. Inside, lengths of walnut rest on sawhorses, beautiful and unpaid for. I can pay Mom back, he says. I can rebuild the emergency fund. We can get your things out of storage. My things can come out today. You know what I mean. I do. He means everything can return to normal without him having to admit normal was built on my compliance. He taps the application. I'm not asking you to decide about us today. I'm asking you not to kill this opportunity while you're angry. That is an effective sentence. It makes caution sound like sabotage and urgency sound neutral. I fold the application once and put it in my desk drawer on top of the brass hook. I'll read it. When? When I can read it as a lease, not an apology. For the next several weeks, Daniel becomes the man I married with the efficiency of someone reconstructing a room from photographs. He makes coffee in the morning and remembers how strong I like it. He replaces the bulb in the upstairs hallway. He brings home Thai food from the place that puts too much lime in the noodles, because I have always claimed to hate it and always finish mine. He also lands the first stage design agreement with the hotel group. There are site visits, material samples, and long nights in the garage. He talks about maple veneer over plywood cores, concealed hinges, and delivery schedules. I listen, despite myself. Daniel is good at the work. When he runs his hand across a finished surface, his whole face changes. The frightened, evasive part of him disappears. He knows what pressure to apply and when to stop. One night, he carries a sample panel into the kitchen. It is walnut inlaid with a thin line of brass. "They like this one," he says. It's beautiful. His relief at hearing me say it is painful to watch. They want the first conference room done as a test. If it goes well, I get the other 5. When? Installation in October. That's fast. I can do it. I turn the panel toward the light. The brass line is slightly off center. He sees me notice. It's intentional. I know. He smiles. You hate symmetry when someone else chooses it. For a second, I can see us staying married. Not because anything has been repaired, but because we are fluent in each other. Fluency can imitate safety if you speak quickly enough. Then Marlene comes in wearing my blue apron and asks Daniel whether the hotel deposit has cleared. The panel becomes heavy in my hands. The 6-week mark arrives on a Tuesday. Marlene celebrates it by having a second rack installed in the guest room closet. I stand in the doorway while a handyman anchors it to the wall. She has paid him from her own checking account. The fact feels pointed. I needed somewhere for jackets, she says. I'm sure. She watches him tighten a bracket. Daniel tells me you still haven't signed the lease. Daniel tells you a lot. He is under considerable pressure. I noticed, some of it moved into my office. She looks at the floral suitcase stacked beside the bed. You think I enjoy this? I think you prefer it to paying your own rent. Her cheeks color. The handyman picks up his drill case. I'll email the receipt. Thank you, Marlene says with extraordinary warmth. When he leaves, she shuts the guest room door and lowers her voice. I had a home for 12 years. I knew the doorman, the woman at the dry cleaner, the pharmacist who called when my prescriptions were ready. Then the rent went up again. Daniel came to me needing help, and I thought perhaps we could solve 2 problems together. You solved them with my house. He said you would agree. Did you believe him? I believed you would not refuse after the arrangements were made. There it is again, stripped of Daniel's softer language. You counted on trapping me. I counted on family meaning something. Meaning I would be too ashamed to say no. Meaning we do uncomfortable things for people we love. She looks toward the room where my office chair used to be. I sold most of what I owned, she says. Do you think that was comfortable? Daniel said your money would be safer in his business. Her eyes narrow. How do you know that? You told him in the kitchen. I said nothing about safety. The silence changes shape. Marlene steps closer. What exactly did he tell you? That you lent him $10,000 because his contracts were late. He said the hotel project was nearly certain when I gave him the last 6. The hotel group contacted him after you moved in. Her face empties. For once, neither of us has prepared the next sentence. He told me he had commercial work lined up, she says. He had a dentist's conference table. She sits on the edge of the bed. The new closet rod gleams behind her, empty and level. I could be kind. I could sit beside her and name the feeling. Instead, I leave her with it. Ruth calls 2 days later looking for a silver serving bowl Marlene promised to bring to her anniversary dinner. It's probably in storage, Marlene says from across the kitchen. Leah knows where everything is. I look up from my laptop. Why would I know? You have the inventory. Ruth hears her over the phone. Is this the place where your dining set went? She asks. Yes. I'll come by Saturday. Leah can show me. Marlene starts to object, then stops. She has learned enough not to let Daniel retrieve anything unsupervised. She trusts me more than she wants to. At the unit, Ruth walks past my green coat and stops. What is this? The wardrobe. I can see that. Why is Leah's chair under your table? Marlene unlocks her jaw. The office needed to be cleared. Ruth looks at me. You said coats. I didn't say coats. You were told coats. She circles the chair, taking in the framed photographs, my binders, and the boxes marked with my name. When she finds the serving bowl, it is wedged inside a carton beneath 2 of my winter boots. Ruth lifts one boot by the heel. This helped with the plumbing? Please don't start, Marlene says. I told her not to make a permanent decision. You had no business advising her. You made it my business when you called me and said she was freezing you out over closet space. Marlene grips the bowl to her chest. I needed support. You needed a witness who hadn't seen the room. Ruth puts my boot back. On the drive home, my phone rings through the car speakers. Daniel's name fills the dashboard. You took Ruth to the unit? He asks when I answer. She wanted the serving bowl. My mother is upset. Ruth saw my things. You didn't need to make a tour out of it. Did she tell you it was a tour? She said you let Ruth photograph the boxes. Ruth didn't take pictures. He's quiet. Marlene is beside him, feeding him lines or letting him invent them. I can no longer tell which is worse. I have a lender meeting Monday, he says. I need the updated books. You change the password. I'll give you temporary access. Hire a bookkeeper. I can't bring a stranger into this halfway through. You brought your mother into our house halfway through. This is exactly what I mean. Every practical conversation becomes a trial. You need clean financials for a loan. That's a practical problem with a practical solution. The solution is sitting in your office. I don't work for your business. You have for years. The words come out angry, but they are true. He emails me the financing packet that evening. On the personnel page, beneath his name, is mine. Leah Price, Financial Operations and Accounts Management. My annual salary from the museum events company appears under household income. The lender is being asked to view my paycheck, my bookkeeping, and our renewed lease as supports beneath Daniel's expansion. He has built another room around me and plans to show it to strangers before asking whether I want to stand inside. I print the page. The next morning, I tour a 1-bedroom apartment 12 minutes from work. The kitchen is narrow, the bedroom faces a brick wall, and the foyer has exactly enough space for one coat hook. I fill out the application. I do not feel brave. I feel nauseated. The deposit will consume most of what remains from my last 2 paychecks after rent. If Daniel misses a payment before November, Mason can still come after me if the hotel work succeeds. I may be leaving at the precise moment Daniel becomes the husband he keeps promising to be. Nadine signs my employment verification without asking for details. Do you need me to know more now? She asks. I'm moving. She nods once. Then I know enough. Daniel finds out when Mason emails both of us to confirm a lease meeting for the first Friday in September. Marlene is planning a dinner that evening. She calls it a housewarming even though she has occupied the guest room for months. Ruth and her husband are coming, along with 2 cousins who believe they are celebrating Daniel's hotel contract. You scheduled Mason before dinner? I ask. Daniel is polishing the brass inlaid sample panel at the kitchen island. It was the only time he had. You told everyone we're renewing. I told them the meeting was Friday. Marlene ordered champagne. She likes champagne. He puts down the cloth. Are you really going to make me ask? I'm not signing. His face changes by degrees. You said you'd read it. I did. You applied somewhere else. Yes. You let me spend all this time believing we were working on things. You worked on coffee. You worked on the hallway bulb. You worked on the hotel contract. I worked on us. You changed your business password and put my salary in a loan application because we are married. You keep saying that as if marriage gives you access to anything I can be pressured into providing. He slaps the polishing cloth onto the counter. Marlene appears in the doorway but stays there. If you walk away now, I lose the full project. You have the first room. I need the credit line to fund the other 5. Then show the lender a business that can fund them. You know I can't qualify without the household income. I know. The word frightens him more than shouting would. He calls Ruth that night. I hear only his half from the garage. He explains the hotel contract, the deposit schedule, the equipment he needs. He asks whether she would guarantee a small line of credit until the first installation is paid. The conversation lasts 4 minutes. When he comes inside, he does not look at Marlene. She said no, Marlene asks. She said she saw the storage unit. Mason arrives Friday at 4:30 with a leather folder and rain on his shoulders. The dining table is already set for 8. Marlene has placed gold napkins beneath the wine glasses and the silver serving bowl in the center, filled with white roses, champagne chills in a bucket. Mason sits at the head of the table because it is the only chair without a place setting. Daniel and I sit across from each other. Marlene remains standing near the kitchen. I brought the renewal at the current rate plus the increase we discussed, Mason says. I'll need both signatures. Daniel uncaps a pen and signs. Mason turns the papers toward me. I place an envelope on top of them. That's my written notice that I won't renew. It also shows the rent transfers scheduled through November 30th. Mason opens it, checks the first page, and nods. Then the tenancy ends, November 30th, unless Daniel submits an individual application and qualifies. I'll submit one, Daniel says. You're welcome to. Mason's tone is neutral. Neutrality can be merciless. I slide a second letter across the table to Daniel. What is this? My resignation from any role in your business. I included the date I stopped handling accounts. Remove my name and income from the financing packet. Marlene comes closer. Must this happen today? The lender meeting is Monday. Daniel does not open the letter. You planned this, he says. I responded to what you planned. The front door opens. Ruth calls from the foyer that they are early and asks whether anyone needs ice. Marlene closes her eyes. Daniel looks at the table, the champagne, Mason's unsigned lease. You're ending our marriage over a coat closet. No, I say. I'm ending it because your promises to your mother were protected. My belongings, my work, and my consent were negotiable. Mason puts the renewal papers back in his folder. The hotel group keeps Daniel for the first conference room and gives the remaining 5 to a larger shop. He sells the wide belt sander and a rack of specialty clamps to cover Marlene's first repayment. She rents a small apartment near Ruth, using what remains of her savings for the deposit and furniture that fits. Daniel and I speak mostly through lists after that. Utilities, movers, keys. The ceramic dish from the bedroom belongs to me. The maple cutting board belongs to him. Neither of us asks for the brass inlaid sample panel. On the last morning, the storage movers bring my boxes to the new apartment. Petra's company charges my individual account. I watch the payment screen turn green. My chair goes beside the window. The photograph hangs above it. The office binders fit on one shelf with room left over. The final garment bag contains my green wool coat. I take it out, thread a needle, and secure the loose brass button. Then I screw the old hook into the foyer wall. It tilts slightly to the left. I hang the coat where I can reach it whenever I choose to leave.